also, what we did not expect, but he is here. Dr. Rashid, Director General Multilateral Relationship, he is on the stage as well. Now, there are NRBs in here. Ms. Zakia Khan from Voice of America. And Kochi Konther Ashur. Ms. Jasmine Ahmed, she is Global Finance Shared Services, Pfizer Inc. Ms. Nahreen Ahmed, he is our second generation NRB. He is going to Drexel University of Philadelphia for medical education. So we do have our presenter here. I should not take much of your time. I want to thank you all for being here with us at this session, and our goal is to have a platform where we are bringing our second generation NRBs and having an exposure with our previous generation and local policymakers together, and to share what we are expecting to see the future Bangladesh. That is what we are trying to do. We want to have a better Bangladesh. We want to come up with some ideas, and we want to come up with policy recommendation, and then we want commitment from our policymakers towards that direction, a commitment.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I bring to you felicitation and good wishes from my organization, Kochi Konther Ashur. I would like to congratulate the NRB conference organizers for arranging this important event for the first time in Bangladesh. Let me also convey to all Bangladeshis our good wishes for this month of glorious victory, which established us on the map of the world as the independent country. Here I'm going to stop for a moment. Is the DVD on? Should it continue? Whoever is in charge, please. I'm going to talk now. সুধীবৃন্দ, এখানে একটি কথা আমাকে অবশ্যই বলতে হবে। আমি যখন নিউ ইয়র্কে ছিলাম আমাকে বলা হয়েছে that you have to speak in English, definitely. তো আমি তো নিজেকে প্রিপেয়ার করেছি ওইভাবে আমার স্পিচের জন্য, বক্তৃতার জন্যে, কিন্তু এখন দেখছি যে জিনিসটা উল্টে গেছে। তো আমি ওনাদের আদেশ আমার শিরোধার্য, সুতরাং আমি আর কি করব, ইংরেজিতে আমাকে বলতে হবে, কারণ আমি কালকে রাতে এসেছি এবং সময় হয়নি আমার ওটাকে ট্রান্সলেট করে, প্রিপেয়ারিং মাই সেলফ ফর ইট। You will start it? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe every creative endeavor is the result of many events, many challenges, and many people's work. Kendriya Kochi Konther Ashur is no different. Its behind-the-scenes story starts in Bangladesh in 1976 under the leadership of Mr. Himayat Hussain. Over the course of time, Kochi Konther Ashur USA was established as a non-profit international children's organization in New York City. However, the Kendriya Kochi Konther Ashur is being run by several distinguished people here in Bangladesh, namely Mr. Ridhanur Rahman Sheli, former minister, Mr. Morshed, former information secretary, National Professor Dr. Innas Ali, Professor Hamida Ali, Professor Roshan Ara Mannan, Mr. Mustafa Manwar, DG, former DG, Television PTA, Kendriya Kochi, also Professor Shahida Ubaid, former Dhaka Board, Education Board's chairperson. Kendriya Kochi Konther Ashur and the Kochi Konther Ashur USA members believe, as the famous European child advocate Maria von Trapp said, the grief of a child is always terrible because it is bottomless without hope. A child has no past, no future. It lives in the present moment wholeheartedly. If the present moment moment spells disaster, the child suffers with the whole heart, his whole soul, his whole strength, and his whole little being. Ladies and gentlemen, the objective of Uchi Konther Ashur is to provide facilities to the children today, especially those underprivileged, so that they can become worthy citizens and unleash their innate potentials, abilities, and talents. Our goal is to prevent student dropouts due to parents' financial insolvency and to provide financial help to handicapped children to benefit their health, education, and welfare. We are a non-political, secular, volunteer organization. We conform to the UN Charter on Human Rights and the Universal Declaration of Children's Rights. In the past, KK undertook various programs. You'll see some of the slides there. Various programs for the promotion of well-being of orphans in Bangladesh. To combat trafficking, we took steps to raise community awareness, build Shishu Nibash in Gopalganj for the rehabilitation and health care of children. We involved enforcement agencies to rescue children. We also opened 8 orphanages, each with 50 students where we provided vocational training. I would like to emphasize that our financial support was provided by local governments, local NGOs, and the KKA Foundation. Besides this, whenever additional help is needed, our national government has come forward to give us support. KKA's other activities in Bangladesh include cultural shows and art competitions in Shishu Academy and East-West University. We were involved in a 15-year project for arsenic-free pure drinking water under the auspices of World Bank and an exhibition of the 2006 documentary film Just a Little Dream, which chronicles the plight of Bangladeshi children at the Sheraton Hotel. Within the digital arena, KKA fielded a video conference on the environment. We also ran an internet blogging debate among children of Bangladesh, Africa, Canada, and the US, which took place at the United Nations head office in the New York City. KKA's USA efforts reach out to Bangladeshi immigrants by offering advice on social, education, and health matters. Educational initiatives include general education program for adults, after-school programs for the younger kids, and outreach programs to teach English as a second language. In the social arena, we were proud to sponsor several summer and weekend cultural programs. Some of the specific social events KKA sponsored were the 1990 Children's Festival in Turkey, the 2002 release of a musical compilation of several NRB immigrants artists, and a children's benefit concert in New York, which was attended by New York's very own Governor Pataki and the Indian famous actress Aishwarya Rai. We observed World Children's Day by participating in activities in Connecticut and by helping to organize a children's festival in New York. Really, I can go on and on, so many things Uchi Konther Ashur has done so far, but we have helped to make difference in the international Bangladeshi community. Ladies and gentlemen, recently we took a large step to establish the Kids Vision TV, you must have seen it a moment ago, show in collaboration with Channel I Bangladesh. Also, we are organizing a general education diploma course for the youth of Bangladesh. I'm proud to say that the successful students will be provided with H-1B visas for employment in the US. But the most exciting future initiative to look forward is to have new Bright Star project, which focuses resources on above average students from socially and economically deprived situations, and more specifically targets bright students who are physically challenged, which is a very new concept going on in Bangladesh, and we are proud of that. I must mention that the idea for this program is the brainchild of General Muin U. Ahmed, Chief of Army Staff, who is committed to financially and materially support the health and education needs of these bright children. We must thank General Ahmed for his lofty vision. Ladies and gentlemen, we all realize that the main victim of social and environmental chaos is our children, Bangladeshi children. With that thought in mind, we are planning a 14-day International Children's Festival, otherwise known as the ICF, in the near future. Our objective is to build a bridge between NRB and Bangladeshi children, focusing attention on natural calamity in Bangladesh and promoting Bengali culture, craft, and the very way of life. Children between the ages of 12 and 16 will be encouraged to join ICF worldwide. The festival will provide children with a valuable knowledge on environmental issues such as global warming and the rise in sea level that threatens to increase cyclone disaster rates, which we have seen recently, and learn the importance of ecologic coexistence, and they can experience the environment firsthand. Most of all, the trip's purpose will be to generate awareness of solutions through indigenous technologies and scientific methods aimed at preserving nature. The ICF will continue to help children learn about Bengali arts, crafts, and culture by attending different shows. These children, 150 children, are coming from all over the world, hopefully. We hope we can do that on time. Among these forums will provide interaction among children for active intellectual and cultural enhancement, thus developing a common international brotherhood. Ladies and gentlemen, we are a nation of 140 million, maybe more, people. Out of 140 million people, 57% of these number are under the age of 18 years. Therefore, we, through KKA, are targeting the under 18 age group to make an impact not only for these children, but also for the future of our beloved country. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention and time. I would like to end my presentation by reading to you the words of the theme song of KKA children. I am Kochi. Listen to my song. I voice a legitimate demand of education, health, love, and moral progress. I sing of unity of diversity, like a rainbow where colors unite to a beautiful form. I am a movement, an aspiration reaching to all children of all races, of all colors, no matter where. Everybody's blood is red. I may physically cease, but my friends shall carry the flag. I'm sorry. To see a better tomorrow, a new day, a day of peace. Let's say united children, united world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jakia Khan. It was very touching. And we know people who live abroad, for some reason, because these people are away from home, they feel so much for home. And Sometimes it is very hard to really control the emotion, to see that a country that we belong to is not prospering at the rate the similar countries are doing. And everybody want to contribute to that, and that was the aim of this conference. And we welcome her initiative as well. Now we have second generation NRB, Ms. Jasmine Ahmed. Once I say second generation NRB, it is second generation, meaning who are born or raised abroad, not in Bangladesh, or people of Bangladeshi origin. She is working for Global Financial Share Services, Pfizer, and she's going to be talking on investment opportunities, second generation non-resident Bangladeshis. Please welcome Ms. Jasmine Ahmed.
Good morning. First of all, I wanted to thank Ms. Zakia Khan for inspiration and to also show that while you live abroad, you can still contribute and promote to positive development for Bangladesh. I wanted to also say good morning to everyone here and for congratulating the organization, the NRB, the first NRB conference, and I think it's a breaking moment for us to really bond together, unite globally, and move forward. So some of you are probably wondering, what do I mean when I say investment opportunity, second generation non-resident Bangladeshis? What I'll do is, while Zakia Appa spent some time with an example of how we can contribute while living abroad, I wanted to share more on taking it to the next step of how do we build a bridge and what do I exactly mean when I say, when I speak of investment opportunity. Just a brief outline to walk you guys through this. And I want this to be an open dialogue more than anything else. I want us to really engage and use this as a platform to work together, to come up with ideas, and then work on how can we move forward to the next step. So the first thing that I'd like to cover is the importance of strengthening the bridge between Bangladeshis living here and second generation Bangladeshis abroad. Why the time is optimal and paramount now. We're going through a very critical time. And then going on to how do we recruit second generation NRBs, but then after we make that investment, how do we retain them? And then what is that investment opportunity? What does it look like? The skilled workforce and second generation NRBs, the connection. Some of this will make a little bit more sense. I'm trying to really tell a story to hopefully get some thoughts across and share some ideas with you. So some starting points of how we can partner with the second generation NRBs through either the educational system or the private sector. And then what can we do in terms of next steps? Yesterday during the opening ceremony, we spoke quite a few times. Many of the guest speakers yesterday mentioned that this should not be just a forum to talk about ideas, but we should also leave with some objectives, some concrete plans, and actually move them to implementation. And I'd like to actually end this off to really, because I really want to have more of a two-way dialogue with everyone here and open up the floor for some questions and comments. Okay, afterwards. That's fine. We'll move on to, I guess we're going to have all 3 presentations, then we'll go to the questions and comments. So, the importance of strengthening the bridge between the second generation NRBs and the Bangladeshis living here in our native land. And if you look at the demographics, what I tried to show is traditionally you have Bangladeshi nationals obviously making up a vast majority of our overall population. You have the first generation NRBs, and you have the second generation NRBs who are growing up abroad. Over the last 50 years is where we probably have the surge of first generation or Bangladeshis migrating globally to other countries. But over time, now that we've crossed about 40, 50 years of migration, we're actually on the surge of where I've tried to show how the demographics is changing. The second generation NRB becomes a bigger picture of a bigger piece of the pie. Where in the past, about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was easy to avoid the second generation NRBs, but if we really want to move forward with this being the exponential growing sector of our demographics worldwide, it's a sector, it's a resource, it's an axis of resource that we have that we can't avoid anymore, and avoiding it would only be detrimental to all of us. So some of the prospective benefits that I would see with the second generation NRBs is it's a resource that we have to the global economy, to the global resources abroad. Some people have spoken about brain drain challenges. Second generation can be one core way of not making it a brain drain, but a brain resource, just human resource and talent that we have globally as Bangladeshis. Many second generation Bangladeshis, when they grow abroad and you ask them where are you from, they will not tell you I'm an American or I'm a British. They will tell you I am a Bangladeshi. And it gives us a direct access and an easy access to the emerging trends in the global market. It helps us in Bangladesh to look outside of Bangladesh, because the economy really, no matter where you go in the developed nations or in the developing nations, it's no longer constrained within the national boundaries of the nation anymore. It is more of a global economy, and the more we can leverage with that, the greater our opportunities are. And you can really use these second generation NRBs to help us become more marketable. If you look at India, for example, as a prime example, I work with many Indians. I do quite a bit of business there, and what I see is a lot of their success factor has been some of the way they've utilized and leveraged from their second generation NRBs to make them, as India as a nation, to be more marketable in the global economy. And if you look at second generation, some of these are common things that came up yesterday. The second generation NRBs, many of the migrations that took place, some were from the elite group of Bangladesh that migrated overseas, and their children were also educated very well. But also another factor that came in, which makes this a very good resource, where you have a lot of struggling parents, nationals who migrated overseas, who may not have been as educated, but their children, one thing that they did do when they went overseas is they invested in education. So you have a larger pool of highly skilled, educated talent out there. Now, from an optimal time now, why is this the optimal time? In the next 20 years or so, some of our best first generation NRBs will start to retire. It's unavoidable, it's the fact. We have to face the reality of it. And the first generation NRB plays a very key role in helping us build the bridge with our second generation NRBs. They're the key connection to the Bangladesh nationals here. But once they've retired 20 years from now, and 30 years from now, if we don't invest in the second generation NRBs now in creating that bond and building that bridge, it'll be a lost cause. And if we want to build that bridge, if we can build that bridge to the second generation, it gives you access to the third generation and the fourth generation and so on. But it's a lost cause if we don't do it now. So it's really trying to close this gap out now, where the time is very critical, and it's a journey. If we think about this 20 years from now, it'll be a much more difficult journey to cross. For second generation NRBs in particular, to recruit them and to engage them and bring them on board is one, to provide a simpler and reliable bureaucracy process. The simpler the process is for someone who lives abroad to understand it, the easier it is for them to participate in it and engage themselves in it. And it becomes easier to get over that learning curve. Many of you have the luxury of knowing how the system works here, or what do you need to do if you want to do this, or what do you need to do if you want to get engaged there. But many of us living abroad who may have visited here with parents for vacation really do not understand, and we would not even know where to start. So the easier you make it for someone on the other side to get involved, the more likely they will get involved. The other aspect, and this really doesn't even relate to just second generation NRBs, it relates to the young generation, the future of Bangladesh, is to be open and accepting to new ideas and perspectives, open to non-traditional concepts. And the more open we are, the more you can embrace the second generation NRBs and the young generation NRBs. I was speaking to Zakia kind of earlier today, just right here, and some of the organizations that the older generations have created, that have established over the last 30, 40 years are just tremendous advances that we made. But how do we now pass on the torch to the younger generation? They're going to, if we want the great work that that many of us have already completed over the years, if we want this to grow and become stronger, getting this sector engaged now will really enable you to prepare them to pass the torch on 30 years from now versus having to constantly recreate the wheel every 30 years. And how do we engage second generation NRBs? There are various initiatives that can be taken by both your first generation NRBs living abroad and the Bangladeshi nationals living here. There's the educational network system, the educational system here, the volunteer work that we have, a lot of the non-government. Bangladesh is known for all the NGOs, the non-government organizations, government-sponsored initiatives, and even private sector. You really can use them. It's really trying to figure out how do you define the value and how do you get them engaged throughout your economy. The opportunities are countless. One of the best elements of the difference between a developed country and a developing country, developed countries have limited opportunities because they've done so much. And over time, your return on your investment diminishes. But with your developing economies, the opportunities are countless. It's about getting together, having that dialogue, being open to ideas, being creative, and getting ourselves engaged. Now we can make quite a bit of investment recruiting. But once we recruit, we should always be conscious of how do you hold on to them. You invest a lot, you recruit them, and then, and to retain them. So actually, I've just been told I have 2 minutes, so I'll go through a bit quicker. So to retain them, simpler bureaucracy, being open to very being transparent. Transparency is very key. Open discussion, positive reinforcement can be very powerful. Code of conduct is also the living through ethics and code of conduct, and gradually limiting the use of hierarchy. The more we can limit these types of hierarchies, the more we engage and embrace second generation, because that's the culture that they're used to overseas. And the more we start embracing those types of changes and gradual changes, the more engaged they will become and more interested they will become. So investment opportunity. So in developed nations, as I said, really the current state that we have in developed nations is that the population is decreasing, so their human force, the human resource is a diminishing factor, which hence the cost of labor is very high, there's limited internal growth opportunities, so they have a higher dependence on the global economy for their growth opportunities. So how can they grow? They can either go and sell more business, and expand their businesses, or the other thing that many of these developed nations have been engaging in is using global resources to support their business operations. And some aspects of that are through call centers, information technology, accounting support, general office support. It's countless. And that's really where the growth factor of India has really been. They've been taking advantage of the large population. Bangladesh as well has a large population. Use your resource, invest in your resource. So from a value proposition for Bangladesh, you've got the resource, you have the people, and now how do you make that a skilled resource? Through universities, university students, and young professionals. There's the formal education piece, which we have, the practical training and exposure to the global economy, and ongoing career development. These three factors are very critical to continuously develop your people, develop the people, and develop and create a skilled pool of highly skilled resources in Bangladesh. And that's the one aspect, and with the advancements with internet, it makes this opportunity much more feasible today than it was 30 years ago or 20 years ago. So this is just something very quickly to visually display. I don't know how many of you, I don't know if we're familiar with Six Sigma, but when you look at anything, you can look at it as a process. So you have people, your suppliers, you have your inputs and the processes. So basically you can use your second generation NRBs to help develop your people to make them more marketable, and develop and contribute to a more skilled workforce in the global economy through either practical training and global exposure or ongoing career development through both the educational system and through the private sector, among others. Now, partnering with it, these are just I'm not going to spend too much time. These are just some quick ideas that I jotted down. Educational system, what some of the ideas or thoughts that I have that I've seen work very well overseas is telementoring programs, online one-to-one mentoring relationships, educational programs, career management programs, career advisory, or just mentor. Mentor is we use mentors. They are not only in our formal education system, but also in our in the job market. So then there's the other aspect of e-learning. I think what I'm trying to also say is that we shouldn't go about this in trying to recruit second generation NRBs to move here. If we try to make that our initial goal in the next 3 years, it's not going to work. But how do we still use their resources, and how do we attract that interest? One of the other ways that we can do this is you can teach classes online. You have online classes. So maybe they can't come in, quit their job, and come here for 3 months and teach a course. But what they can do is they can teach a course electronically. You have video conferencing. You have, the technology advancements are so great. It's a very feasible option, and it's a very easy way to make it a win-win situation for both parties. Looking at the curriculum, looking at the more strategic ways of how the education system here and the career growth development is designed here versus abroad, and trying to leverage from some of the best practices. In the private sector's role, it's ongoing professional development. Ongoing professional development is very critical in developing a skilled workforce. Telementoring programs, partnerships through HR, and just consulting opportunities as well.
In fact, it was a very wonderful presentation. Thank you, and I'm sorry for interrupting you. Our Honorable Advisor, Minister of Foreign Affairs, have time constraint. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to say thanks, because right after his speech he might leave. So I'm going to be thanking him ahead of time. And I should mention, this first non-resident Bangladeshi conference would not have been getting this kind of attention, and would not have been this much effective and productive, and people would not have responded the way that they have without the full support from our Honorable Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the department in that area, the people that are working. I get phone calls every day from them addressing issues and trying to help me in making this conference a success. So he deserves a big clap, and his whole ministry deserves a big clap. They did a wonderful job for us. Thank you so much, and that is what we are looking forward, your support and cooperation. Now I request our Honorable Advisor, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Iftikhar Ahmed Chowdhury, to please come to the podium and address the audience. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure and a delight to be here, truly, because I can see among the audience many, many people who have been with me as fellow NRBs when I was one myself, though on state account for many years. So it's good to be back with so many of you. Also, I shan't begin my substantive comments today without making a reference to the sad event yesterday in Pakistan, the assassination of Benazir Bhutto. She was a woman of great courage. She too had lived abroad for many years, and she had come back home with the hope of serving her nation. Alas, that aspiration was cut short by the assassin's bullet. We condole with her family, and we condole with the Pakistani nation. I want to congratulate the organizers for having got together so many of you, so many talents here this morning, not just in this room, within and without, and also for the idea, and I shall speak to it later. There has been mention of the support that my ministry has accorded, and I can assure you that in every initiative that non-resident Bangladeshis will take, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will stand with you. We, ladies and gentlemen, live in a globalized world. Globalization has facilitated not only the free movement of goods and services, but also of people. Although the movement of people still faces barriers, different kinds of barriers, it has not deterred the Bangladeshi. They have been enterprising, courageous. Wherever they have settled down, they have earned the reputation of being committed, of being industrious, and of having assimilated the culture of their ambiance. How can the Bangladeshi diaspora, first, second, or third generation, help the country of origin? More specifically, and this I'm speaking to the subject of our current discussion, how can they assist the children in their home country? There are a number of channels open to NRBs in this regard. I shall discuss a few. The most important comes in the area of education. NRBs are often privileged to have a very high level of education. They have the exposure to cultures where education is not just an end in itself.
We should also heed lessons learned in this conference to make future ones more effective. Holding such events, therefore, is an idea whose time has surely come. I thank you.
I thank you, sir. Thanks for your precious time and sharing your thoughts with us. And we are going to be looking forward for your help all the time. So whenever all these NRBs and us representing them, we'll be calling you. And that is for sure. You know, you are going to be getting phone calls from us because that is the commitment we get from him, right? Isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. There we go. Thank you so much, sir. He's going to be here. We are not going to let him go. So he is here because we let one person go. We need to have another person for other commitments, right? We need a lot of commitments. And then we are going to do the follow-up. And then all of us could settle in, please. Right?
When do we have the chance to ask questions?
Yes, there is a Q&A session. We have another presenter, and then we have our honorable special guest. He will be speaking, and then we are going to open up our floor for. And then no personal question, please. We can answer all the questions, but we are not going to be taking any personal questions, and we are going to be trying to, stick to the agenda that how NRBs, second generation NRBs specifically, can come back home and feel like home, and also how can they really contribute towards the development of the country. So we are going to be trying to stick to the agenda, otherwise those questions are not going to be appreciated. Thank you so much. Now, because I cut her off, I'll let her come back again. We have Nahreen Ahmed. She is medical student of Drexel University, Philadelphia. We thought, because following Jasmine, whatever she has said, that we have a huge generation that are raising abroad. They were born abroad. We really have to hear from them. What are they doing? What do they have to say? How do they really want to participate in the development of the country, or any kind of small contribution? No contribution or small contribution, because all the small contribution together will make it a huge one, right? That is how it is. Now I welcome Ms. Nahreen Ahmed, the medical student of Drexel University, Philadelphia. Could you please come and proceed? Thank you.
Now, I'm speaking specifically about medical education, but community service itself is very important in all levels of education, in any profession, because what exactly is community service? It's giving back to the community that you reside in. Our community right now is the Bangladeshi community. Whether it's here in Bangladesh, whether it's in America, we are part of that community. So here, we're all providing a community service by being here because we're giving back to our community of Bangladesh. Is that right? Right. And I thank you all for providing that community service. And here today, my community service in this whole conference is to share some knowledge, to share my skills in any way possible to all of you, and to provide some kind of service to the medical curriculum here in Bangladesh, to establish a connection with the medical students here also. Quote from, I'd also like you to keep in mind the very general significance of community service, that we're trying to make a difference. And although that may be a very broad definition, it's what we're all doing here today. And keep that in mind as I continue to speak about community service on a very, very specific level, as I said, the medical curriculum. So, health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease. Why is that important? We're all here today collaborating from various backgrounds, whether it be health, whether it be finance background, educational background, and what that quote means is that a person's health is not just their physical health, it's their mental health, it's their social health, it's their economic health. And all of that put together makes a person healthy. So we need to collaborate with all of our backgrounds in order to create healthy individuals, whether here in Bangladesh or in America. So that's just a general summary of the mission of community service that Drexel has in mind. To provide a service to those who need it the most in the community that we reside in, because that's who we connect to. Also, to realize that the impact of the community factors on health and access. So what does that mean? Bangladeshis in America that go there have a very different health profile than any other cultural background. And other opportunities are available, electives for fourth-year students, something called a community health advocacy program, in paid summer internship called Bridging the Gaps, and something else that's very near and dear to me, which is a health outreach program which includes various different clinics all over Philadelphia that target different populations. So I want to give you some idea of how exactly to implement this mandatory component. For any of you that are in the healthcare field, this is, could be important for your students, could be important for you as a professional, or anyone else in any other professional background. You may be able to implement, modify this in some way in whatever background you are coming from. So please keep that in mind. So, like I said, it's mandatory to pass this first year course. And the way it's set up, the outline is 8 hours per week, whether it be in 1 or 2 sessions, 4 hours, or one full 8-hour session for 7 weeks, with the final presentation at the very end in front of all of our colleagues. Now, you may be thinking, 7 weeks, community service, why wouldn't it be a long-term project? Realistically speaking, medical students don't have all the time in the world, and that goes for any profession. So we start small. We say you start with 7 weeks, and by the end of the 7 weeks, many of us notice we have a connection with that community that we started working with. So that 7-week program might actually become a long-term project, but that's for us to decide, and that's where the drop-off point is. So you do 7 weeks, and the rest is up to you because you make that connection, and that does happen, as I am still continuing my 7-week project from last year up until today. And it doesn't necessarily have to be direct patient care. Actually, they suggest that it's not direct patient care, because that's when you get involved with the logistics, the technicalities of the medical profession. Here we say, connect with the individual because that's who you're going to be treating later. Make sure you make that personal connect. It's also an opportunity to interact with very small communities in Philadelphia, for me personally. Generally speaking, not all. A low socioeconomic status, a lower educational level, very difficult time understanding what their drug regimen is, understanding what their disease process is. And a doctor has maybe 8 to 10 minutes. Give me a minute to think, to understand what's going on. So I said, okay, I'll spend time playing with your child in the exam room. You take all the time you need. Hours, doesn't matter. Take the time, collect your thoughts. And that became the biggest service that we could provide to the family. Give them some time to collect their thoughts, to understand what's going on to themselves. And that's how we were creating the connection with the children and their families. Some of the other opportunities available are a women's clinic that some other students have worked at, which also includes Planned Parenthood, educate teenage women on birth control, sexually transmitted infections, prenatal and natal care, as many teenage women are uneducated about such topics.
Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs, to address the audience. Thank you, sir.
guests, ladies and gentlemen. It really gives me great pleasure to join you in this first ever NRB conference in Bangladesh, and I would like to compliment Scholars Bangladesh for taking this great initiative. I have spent a substantial part of my service life in India. I have witnessed how the NRIs have contributed to and also benefited from the phenomenal economic growth of India in the last 2 decades. I have no doubt in my mind that the NRBs, with their talent and resources, can play a substantive role in the resurgence of Bangladesh. Today, I believe we are witnessing the beginning of that process. Many of you have traveled from long distances to attend this conference, and I compliment you on this homecoming. I am indeed very pleased to be asked to make a speech at this August gathering on such an important topic as how NRBs can help Bangladesh children. I am sure that the outcome of the discussion will be useful for all concerned, especially the children of Bangladesh. As we all know, it was sometime in the early 80s when a sudden wave of opportunities in the Western Hemisphere, the Middle East, as well as the Southeast Asia, invited many of our young men from our countries to those countries. Some women too, but mostly initially it was men. This is not to say that we did not have people from our country going to other countries before that, but I think the big surge took place in the 80s. These young men saved, borrowed, sold off assets to meet the expenses required to fly abroad for a better fortune. These migrants, the core of today's NRBs, prospered in their host communities in the face of daunting challenges. They sent back considerable sum of money to their home country also. Today, a very large number of households in Bangladesh have at least one member of their family earning abroad. The current stock of Bangladeshi overseas workers is estimated at nearly 4 million. Remittances received in Bangladesh now constitute the largest net source of foreign exchange. In 2006, workers' remittances amounted to 7.7% of our GDP. Ladies and gentlemen, we are equally proud of the fact that people of Bangladesh origin, wherever they may be living, have greatly enriched the society, economy, and culture of their adopted countries. The success stories of Bangladeshi entrepreneurs abroad are exemplary. From high-tech cheap laboratories to gari restaurants, from renowned hospitals to famous educational institutions, from well-known research centers to leading think tanks. Almost everywhere, we will find a Bangladeshi who has overcome all odds to establish himself through skill, dedication, and hard work. It is gratifying to note that they are eager to participate in Bangladesh's national building efforts as a means of strengthening the bond that exists between them and Bangladesh. I do hope that the cooperation and valuable support extended by people of Bangladeshi origin and non-resident Bangladeshis will greatly complement our development efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, children are our future, we all know that, and we are committed to the children's advancement. NRBs, I'll just say a few ideas that come to my mind because we have already had substantial discussion on the details. I think the NRBs can put in their talents and contributions to help the country in achieving in about 4 areas. One, creating opportunities to help children realize their full potential. 2, serving the best interest of children in national, social, family, and personal situations. 3, ensuring their safety and security. And 4, establishing and protecting children's rights. Bangladesh has made significant progress in improving the health of its population, and is one of the few developing countries that are on track to achieve Millennium Development Goal MDG 4, the goal to reduce infant mortality by half. Children are most vulnerable to the diseases that result from a lack of safe drinking water and poor sanitation. Our NRBs can particularly provide support and facilitate investment in the health sector to develop sustainable programs in combating various diseases by way of improving knowledge and technology. Bangladesh is one of the 25 countries who have achieved universal primary education enrollment for both boys and girls. In this regard, Bangladesh targeted to increase net enrollment rate from 73.3% in 1992 to 100% by 2015, which is to fulfill the MDG 2. Bangladesh is on track to meet these targets. However, many challenges remain for education, particularly in providing quality learning opportunities for all children across the country. NRBs can play a significant role in contributing to improving the quality of education to increase children's learning outcomes and their future employability. Honorable Advisor has mentioned about the quality of English education. English, to my mind, is not really only a language. It's basically a tool which gives you a lot more opportunities, a lot more, makes you much more employable, much more sellable in the global market, as well as in our own country. The government of Bangladesh attaches great importance to child education, and particular emphasis on female education. In this connection, we have achieved quite a bit of success, I must mention. I started my young time education in a school in a very remote corner of Bangladesh, in which in a class of about 70, there are 7 or 8 girls in our class. We used to come to the class with the teacher and leave with the teacher. And there, 2 benches were actually perpendicular to the benches of the boys. So, in that school, which I left in 1967, I went back in 2002, after 26 years. And you will be delighted to learn there are 52% girls, 48% boys in that school in a very remote area. Why we have been able to achieve this? Because we have given special emphasis on the enrollment of girls and the support given to them. And you all know that the government provide now not only that free education up to the 12th grade for the girls, but also stipend for the girl students till the secondary level. I can suggest to the NRBs that they could try to create a child development fund that would supplement government efforts and would help Bangladeshi young talent get an opportunity to demonstrate his or her potential on the world stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the children are the potential human resource of a nation. That's why we need to give utmost priority to address the needs and problems of the children. We need to ensure the full and equal enjoyment of all rights of children. Bangladesh is home to millions of orphans and countless more vulnerable children who desperately need help and attention. More than half the inhabitants of Bangladesh city slums are children. The estimated number is staggering, 15 million about. And these 15 million boys and girls, out of them, 8 million must work to help their families. Non-resident Bangladeshis can come forward to boost the country in our attempt to get rid of this anathema and make our children productive asset to build a prosperous future. May I just, with your permission, deviate a little bit from the children in Bangladesh to the children of the NRBs themselves. As we know that the migration started in the 50s, in fact, and mostly initially it went to England and gradually to other countries. I would like to ask a question: why is India so sellable all over the world compared to us and many other countries? Because the non-resident Indians have excelled in areas. It's not that they don't have poverty. It's not that they don't have problems in their country. But whenever the question of India comes up, nobody thinks about what's happening in a remote village in Odisha, the poverty that is grinding or even more than in our country. But they think of a surgeon who is performing the open heart surgery in a US hospital. They think of the IT people who are dominating the US market. So what I feel is that the NRBs have much greater opportunities to educate their children in the renowned and most highly rated institutions all over the world. If they take this opportunity to the whole, and if the community itself supports with the members of their community itself, then we can, it's not only that they gain, but the country gains, because the image of the country goes up instantly. When we see, we are already seeing this change. We have a lot of doctors, a lot of engineers, a lot of IT personnel working in many Western countries. But we would like to see that this number goes up further, and the NRBs really can make a big difference by educating their children, taking care of their own children, and giving them the opportunity to go up in the hierarchy. I would not like to prolong my discussion, but I would like to say that Bangladesh has its own sets of challenges and constraints. But these are common to many of the countries in the developing world. What we need to do is a coordinated effort, increased commitment from, and stronger partnership between the relevant actors and our citizens both at home and abroad. I would like to say that the presence of successful and influential NRBs in so many countries is a source of great strength for Bangladesh, as they influence not just popular perception but also governmental policies in their respective countries to the benefits of Bangladesh. Bangladeshis have tremendous interest in politics, and this is not, and the NRBs are no exception. What I would like to suggest here is that this enthusiasm has gone, I would say, in my personal opinion, it's absolutely personal, gone more in the wrong direction. What I would like to suggest that the non-resident Bangladeshis should be involved in greater numbers and more intensity in the politics of their adoptive countries. That will really benefit Bangladesh and them also, because then they become more influential in the decision making in those countries, which influence our country also. We want to see governors of US states come from Bangladesh. We want to see ministers in different countries who hail from Bangladesh or from the NRB community. Well, I believe that this conference is a vindication of the fact that so many non-resident Bangladeshis are here, not because they want to benefit from Bangladesh, but mainly because they want to give something back. As President Kennedy once said, ask not what the country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. I believe that this is what we ask of ourselves today.
I would like to know if the following people are here. Mr. Humayun Kabir. Okay, then we have Dr. Iqbal Hussain. Mr. Murad Qureshi. Mr. Murad Qureshi. Okay. They were going to be participating as panel and guest, but I guess they could not make it. Now, this is going to be the question and answer session that you are looking for. Now, I would like to please address your questions within the scopes of the seminar, meaning second generation NRB and how they can contribute towards the development of the country in different aspects and different sectors. Is there anybody who want to ask a question? Okay, you'll have to have patience, right? I'll just take one question at a time.
So, and you mentioned about the fact that we need to open up about what I call the DEL policy. You have to be a doctor, engineer, lawyer, else you're a loser. But we have to kind of get away from that. That's what we mentioned. But just want to let you know that that really has happened. And in the last 10, 15 years, I mean, I'm an engineer, and when I was studying here, everybody had to be an engineer or a doctor. But now we're seeing that there are kids in media, there are folks in just about everywhere. Ma'am, question to you.
If you want to engage both second generation and the young generation here to some of the established developments, like for example, with a lot of the work, the ongoing work, if you want to engage the second generation to the development of Bangladesh, one of the ways of attracting them and retaining them is to be open to new ideas, their concepts, their thoughts. It's being a good listener. And it's part of communication. So it had nothing to do with where Bangladesh is today or what my perception.
I wasn't complaining. I mean, I was kind of bringing
Right. So what it is, it's really for all of us to be more open to new ideas.
I guess I have listened to her presentation as well. I guess she tried to make a point. I think it came from the suggestions that you have given, that our bureaucratic system has to be a little more liberal so that we feel comfortable. The people who live abroad feel a little more comfortable knowing the channels how to reach our policymakers.
Right, like simpler. So for example, if I want to engage myself in a certain sector of the bureaucracy or want to be able to do something, if I can easily go online, do a little bit of research and find out these are the 10 steps I need to do to get to the end solution, that'll make my job easier. Hence, it'll encourage me to actually partake in it. It's not knowing how to go about that approach is what a lot of the second generation NRBs will not attempt to get themselves engaged because they don't know how to do it.
And then the other point I would make is regarding the openness. I guess that problem all of us faces with our parent. Say that, they say that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 you have to do, and we have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there is nothing, out of that. So that is how it is. Open to the ideas. Hey, whatever we are saying doesn't necessarily mean that you have to accept it, but please listen to us.
Exactly.
We might have some potential in whatever we are saying. Okay, now we do have the next question.
Briefings from Zakia Khan of KKA work. We do have a lot of organizations, volunteer organizations like this in London and across the London cities. My question is, you do quite a lot of good activities, and particularly for the disabled children and others. And my question is, where do you get those funds, and what is the funding sort of systems in USA? And I mean, one of the things that we face is there are different streams of funding, but it's not very easy to get those. And what is the mechanism and sort of strategies available in America in terms of funding volunteer organizations?
Initial, at the beginning I would say that it's not a very, what is the gentleman who asked me the question? Okay. Initially, it's not a smooth sail. We have to work. For instance, the members are giving a lot of money from their pocket. The community is giving, Bangladeshi community is giving a lot of money from their pocket. And there are, if you understand this mechanism, I'm sure you do, is that there is the corporates, there is the government, and there is the NGOs. The corporates have their interest. They want to get money from the government for developing something. And the government says, don't bother us. You are the corporate, you make the money. And how we can help the corporate, this is government says. How we can help the corporate is that we'll give you the tax break. Say for instance, 3% of tax break. For a corporation, 3% of tax break is billions of dollars. And the NGOs are taking advantage of that because NGOs, when they hurt behind the government, then the government says, please don't bother. The corporates are there, we are giving them the tax break, and they will give you the money. That's the way. It's a vicious circle, but somebody has to give, so passing the buck on each other. But corporates in the United States of America, there are corporations, they want to give something, in return they get the tax break. Say for instance, they have tax for 1 billion, and the government will say, okay, you don't have to give 500,000. Instead, you give that money to the NGOs. That's the way it goes on. So KKA is not doing very good as far as the money part is concerned. There is a financial constraint, but we are surviving. We are going from there, and we are planning to make television programs in the United States of America with the help of Channel I, which is now at this moment Bangladeshi Channel I is there, established in United States of America, and we will try to sell these programs to Japan and other places in their own language. So they're dubbing, and then we'll sell those programs. That's the reason that I was saying that I'm very excited about KK, Kids Vision. Kids Vision is a television program, children television program. As you know, the Western world is going too far as the children programs are concerned. But us, Bangladeshis, are nowhere near. So if we start doing that and we sell these tapes or the cassettes or the programs to all over the world, wherever Bangladeshis are there, and also the countries, those who are motivated culturally, they want to know about culture of other ethnic groups, then they will buy these cassettes and they will show them on the TV. So it's going on. It's not, I'm not going to say that we are very much there already. We are trying.
I have a question and a comment. The two young second generation NRBs have very eloquently spoken, and they have talked about bridging the gap. And the Honorable Secretary also talked about the NRBs able to educate their children so much better because they are abroad, obviously. And Mr. Tawheed Hussain had talked about the female education. I just wanted to mention that to raise the stature of society, we have to absolutely concentrate on raising a new generation of children, a new generation more progressive, more educated, and of course with ethics and morality and compassion and the whole respect for women as their mothers. No one mentioned the mothers, and as women, I think we have extremely vital role in the survival of the species and the progression of society. Women give birth, nurture the young, and provide support to the children. Nurse the sick, as Nareen said. By the way, I was there when she was born. And nurse the old and the sick and pray over the dead, and conduct and carry on all kinds of rituals and in this regard, which become traditions. And we hand down traditions from one generation to another, which is the thread that bind generations. Now, yet, of course, women are abused, beaten, raped and murdered, which is a social tragedy going on from the beginning of time. How is the second generation NRB extending or giving awareness in this regard, where women are given that regard and we hang our heads in either shame or pride? Thank you.
Anyone of the NRBs who is willing to take that question? Second generation? Okay. See, the audience is pointing fingers to you now.
As women, and particularly the second generation, this is actually very dear and close to my heart. I think one of the first steps that we need to work towards in how do we address some of these women issues, women concerns, in terms of abused, being battered, etc. The first step, and I think many of the second generation NRBs, is one place that I truly feel, if you look at this panel, both of the second generation are women. But one of the big factors that go in overseas is that, one, we invest in our education, two, we become independent, and three, most importantly, we learn to respect each other. And once you start doing that, it becomes a growing thread and it starts spreading like a catalyst. And once women, it's like I truly believe that if women as a whole unite and respect each other, then it's harder for other sectors of our society and community to not do the same as well.
16, 17 years old, working in everybody's home, here in Dhaka, in everybody's home. I wanted to tell the minister. They work from 5:30 in the morning, right up to 12 o'clock midnight. They are bonded labor. They are living even in some, in the sense that there are big houses I've seen in everywhere, and the small room for the bua is hardly a small bed to be fitted. It shows how mean we are, And is there any program that we could do that they are a very big source of income for the families who are in the villages? We can't get rid of them today or tomorrow. We have to have them. But can you have some legislation that they should be given one day off so that they can go and study or improve their skill, and they can go, not all of them. This, every time I come to Dhaka and I go and see my friends, relations, everybody's home. These people are treated like, I should say, subhuman. Number one. Number two is that you said that you have got a bright project where the United States government will give HR visa. So you are going to take the United States or the developed countries, they are going to get the bright students, bright people to their countries to conduct the research so that their country will be always on top. And Bangladesh will be run by mediocre. It's been running by mediocre. We have very few people in law, lawyers who are the people in our time who got third division in metric, they went to law. And because of the problem, we are having this sort of problem. The law, we need good lawyers, you see. Another thing also, I'm making comment, I will also answer, that English is food for, English, we call English is for food. But the difference between a human being and an animal is the culture. I've seen in Dhaka, the culture of Bangladeshis culture, for which we dear so much, that's been being eroded for in the name of English. I mean, English has to be there, absolutely, but at the same time, our language, our culture should be promoted, I mean, in all sectors. And Tawheed Hussain, you mentioned that in India, this NRI are having, contributing what? I have got 3 daughters. I don't want to say, but one of the daughters, she came first in HSC in New South Wales, first time in any Indian origin, Indian in subcontinent could come to this state, and she is the youngest consultant in one of the hospitals, one of the top researchers. Every time she comes once in a year, here we get sick in November, December. Because of this, so many cars are running on the road. Yesterday I couldn't go to Dhanmondi, it took almost over 1.5 hours. Our administrators should give a shock treatment that the cars should be banned at least not more than 2000 cc cars should be in Dhaka city. 2000 cc. The ministers, the prime ministers, the president should have a car which should not be more than 2000 cc. If this is not done, we will get sick and our children won't be able to come and help. Let's be practical. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. In regards to the English and the culture, I want to make a comment because I teach at North-South University and I do get a lot of them. In the name of English, we should be thinking for the second generation who are here, or local second generation, or the current generation should be thinking that adapting to English language doesn't necessarily mean you are going to be sacrificing the culture and tradition that we have. The root of that.
You got wrong impression. I said English must be there.
And I didn't say it should not be. I say
it must be there at the same time, or our own language should be promoted.
Yes, our language should be promoted as well, and that is the medium of our academic curriculum in here as well. And then now our DG from Foreign Ministry, Mr. Hamid Rashid, he is going to be addressing.
Actually, it's not an address. I just want to share some of my thoughts on what our colleague or our compatriot from New South Wales mentioned. I think it's absolutely right that the way we treat our household health is absolutely inhuman. But I'm not convinced that legislation will help, because we can have a lot of legislations, but how do you enforce? As an economist, I would say that monetary costs will be very high. How do you go to every household and make sure that we are following the rules? So the culture has to change from within, basically. We have to understand they're human beings as well. And we talked about, when it comes to seminars and conferences, we make all these big rhetorical statements and say, oh, we want to change the world. But we go back home and we treat the way we usually treat. So the change, I think the perception of like the need to change, and one of the reasons that this exists in our society because there's an abundant supply of cheap labor. And we tend to think that, okay, oh, we're doing them a favor by just providing them food and shelter. But we just shouldn't think in that term. We should think about, okay, if they're a member of the household, how can we treat them the same way we treat our children? You know, and this is difficult when we have serious resource constraints. When we're fighting to raise 2-3 children, and then we have another small children from the village. It's not easy. We may sound very idealistic, but it is not easy to implement. So this is one thing I think governments can't do much. It is the society that has to do. Maybe we can have some social pressure, peer pressure. Like we go to a household, we see that our friend or family is mistreating the servant. We may sort of give some subtle signals that, look, you know, the way you're doing, we won't come to your household again. So that kind of social pressure might help, but not legislation. My second observation that I want to make here about the size of the cars driven by the ministers and our dignitaries, I also agree with you fully that we should not use those heavy-duty cars because we don't need that. Because in this country, you can't even drive more than 15 miles an hour in Dhaka city. So you don't need those 2,000 cc cars. And just to inform him, actually our ministers, they drive 1,300 cc cars. So now all the cars are 1.3 liters for the ministers. And I don't know about the chief advisor, and it makes them 1.5. So the problem is not with the ministers or the advisors, is often in the private sector. So most of the cars that our the rich, nouveau rich.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
I didn't mean I said the ministers, presidents, governors, they should. I mean, everybody, even those industrialists who have got my friend, they have got BMW, whatever. That should be because during Pakistan time, the maximum CC was 1,300 cc. Why can't you have not more than 2,000? So that the private cars should be curtailed. So that in Dhaka it is an impossible situation to go from one place to another place. So much of petrol, so much of oil, so much is good. This charity begins at home. Let's start here. As NRB, I'm just asking, maybe this government is a temporary government, but when the next government comes, we'll make a movement. I made a personal movement in the constitution, and Howard government was defeated. Howard was my member in Benelong, and he has been defeated. We took the initiative to work against him.
Yeah, I fully share your concern and suffering. It's not easy to drive in Dhaka or commute in Dhaka, and you're absolutely right in terms of limiting the size of the engines. But we have a tax mechanism. That's how we want to enforce it. Like when you go beyond 1,300 cc, basically you pay a higher tax or import duty. But to ban it completely, then the human rights activists and other groups would come and tell, like, how can you restrict my choice of buying an expensive car? I'm willing to pay a higher amount for that. So we can also have a full surcharge for that. In some countries they do it. But I just wanted to share this thoughts.
In regards of, I do have little comment with Mr. Hamid Rashid on that, or I want to really address this question again. You say the legislation cannot really do much in regards of, having household help. Now, I think, coming from USA, staying there for 12 years, there should be, even if you have those people helping you at the home, the human rights issues, why cannot really government take actions or policies and implement them in order to secure those human rights issues? Why can't we have it?
This is purely my personal opinion, and the reason I'm skeptical about legislation, especially in a context like ours, we have 13,000 rules and legislation that right now we have a commission looking at all the different legislations we have and how they are not mutually reinforcing, often contradicting. So we can add another legislation in the basket, and it wouldn't make much difference unless we can improve enforcement. We have traffic laws in this country, and if you drive in Dhaka, you see that how we drive. nobody follows traffic rules. Enforcement can be very costly. Like, I'm not saying it's not possible, but unless there's cooperation from the people, there's a realization from within, a compliance will be very difficult. We can always have some kind of mandatory requirement that you have to treat your household help with certain dignity, you have to give them one day off, and as human beings, we'll always find a way to circumvent those, unless we change the underlying conditions. The reason I'm skeptical about legislation is that we have to change the circumstances from within.
I can't accept your argument because government is a custodian of the people, their welfare. Let's have a legislation, whether it will be complied or not will come later.
Okay, I guess we are diverting from our original. Excuse me, sir. I guess. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. We are. Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your question and concern. We all of us have those concerns in our minds as well. But I guess it is the time to really control the gear and come back to the place, second generation, and how they can contribute towards the development of the country. Let's come back to that question. Again, if it is a question that is out of line, I'm not allowing it. Okay? If I'm harsh, hey, that's how it goes. Okay? Now, another instruction, there are forms that are available for you. I cannot, or we cannot from here within the time constraint, cater in all the questions that you are going to have. But if it is a question related to the topic, then we'll try to accommodate it. Thank you very much, and write down your honest opinion and feedbacks in there. Scholars Bangladesh should make sure we are going to be, providing all those questionnaires to the proper places. Okay? And then let's see what they do. We'll keep on pushing them. But anyways, if you have anything in mind, jog it down in there and we'll try to forward it to the related places. You had one question, ma'am. Now I have to give floor to other, please. Thank you.
I am a representative from Australia. I'm the director of Bangla Academy Australia. And it's my, unfortunately, I couldn't talk to Zakia Khan, the organizer, earlier, so I couldn't present my papers. I got 3 publications here. I got a very specific question for Zakia Khan. I'm very inspired from your speech, and we are doing a similar program in Australia. I'm living last 16 years in Australia, and I have been working with Sydney Theatre Company as the acting, designing and direction field. We are working through Bangladeshi children, with along Australian mainstream children. We are working in the field of acting, design, direction for media and communications area. So my specific question for you, we are finding very hardship when we organize any program or any sort of say committee arrangement. Say for example, we are running a program and we find like between the committees, they just come confrontation. They find who will be the president, who will be the secretary. So I'm sure that you face this sort of problem. So my specific question for you, Kochi County Ashur. So what sort of organizational structure you do, and do they change their structure every year or two? And how you face this problem, which can be added value for our Australian, Bangla Academy Australia, and
it's not an organization where there is election and the executive bodies are being elected or selected. It's nothing like that. The president, Mr. Himayat Ahmed, is there. He's the leader. They have. I came in abroad much later. I'm the vice president of Kochi County Ashur. It's like voluntary job, and if you are interested, you can show your interest, and if they think that you are eligible or you are well equipped to become coming into that position, that's what happens. And it's not selection, election. There are other organizations in the United States of America, especially in New York and all over the United States, in the Bengali communities are forming. You'll be surprised to know that in New York there are 78 organizations, and some of them are select and this যাকে বলে আঞ্চলিক organizations, but there are some like Bangladesh League of America, Bangladesh Society. Those are the organizations. They elect their members, and it's on the yearly basis. Yearly basis, 2 years. That's the way it goes. And there is a lot of fighting going on and a lot of disorganization. Most of you know if you have been there or have relatives that you hear from them. But as far as Koti Konther Ashur is concerned, you can see the people's name that I mentioned for the Kendriya Koti Konther Ashur is established in Bangladesh. They are the people, those who have been in the society for a long time. They know how to face certain problems. They know how to make it in a short way. They can quickly help the organization. They are the ones who are working.
Thank you, Zakiapa. Now, no, thank you. Now we have, because we have to, hear from other people as well. What do they have to say? There is this gentleman who has investment-related issue, and then that was one of our topic. So we'll be taking that question from him.
Thank you. This is E Chowdhury. I originally came from Chittagong. I was born in UK, brought up back here, and went back again to have my education in UK. I've been a teaching profession as well. I've done business there, and I came back again here. I was an NRB, now I am here, trying to be local here. My half of the family is there. Out of my experience, I'd like to have some comment or suggestion regarding investment, because I am in business in this country as well as there. I found out that the media is now like ATN and ITV. They're going all over the world now. Bangladesh is exposed more than ever before. And what I found out that the media sometimes, not often, that there is a gloomy picture about the country. So one suggestion from me to the scholars of Bangladesh is to work with this media and also to the government, because there's some government representative, to work together with the information ministry and the media and the scholars of Bangladesh to find out a way to make a positive picture of Bangladesh, so the people, those who are abroad, would like to invest here, would come and find easier to invest. And there should be not one-stop service. There should be no stop service for Bangladesh, those who are abroad, to come and invest here. That's my suggestion. Thank you.
It was rather a suggestion than a question, but I would like to hear from our Secretary Minister of Foreign Affairs in regards to that. How can, we want to see a picture of better Bangladesh abroad, and because we want to attract investment in the country. So in order to do that, if we don't have a positive image outside or abroad, if we think that this is not a country where we are going to get a good return or things like that, people are not going to be interested. That is a very true thing. Now, and then I want to address you that it is not that because they are here, so we need to work together. We need to work together to have a better Bangladesh, no matter who we are, starting from the policymakers and everybody else. So it is not just that scholars, and just because the policymakers are there. Policymakers are here because they are the one who will have to finally take the decisions. So we'll just hear a comment from sir, not any questioning, answering.
Thank you. There is no doubt that the media is extremely important, and image. In my short speech, I had in fact touched upon this issue also. What I personally feel is that unless we achieve some positive things, which the world over will have to take cognizance of, till such time, this problem will persist. I do not mean to say that we do not have to make efforts to improve the image of our country and then portray it properly through the media that is there. But as I told you, that there is a preconceived perception, and it is very difficult to get out of that perception. In fact, if you remember, when Mr. Clinton had come to Bangladesh for a day, the evening he was spending in Delhi, that is, next day he came to Dhaka. There was an item in BBC which said, the title was, "Things Clinton won't see" during his visit. It was an extremely negative propaganda. Now, he was in Delhi, in India. And I can assure you with my 9 years stay as a diplomat in India that there are places in India I have seen which are much worse than what they had shown on the TV in Bangladesh. Now, Clinton was not in Bangladesh yet, and they were showing Bangladesh, but when next day he finished the visit here and went back to India, they were not showing the things that he won't see in India. They were showing only the things that he was seeing in India. Now, that is a very serious problem. Now, one thing is that good news usually is no news. Bad news are. Bad news are. I would again say, let us achieve certain things. We have achieved certain things. The World Economic Forum last month had a survey of the situation of women. I don't think that we have any reason for complacency, but in a list of 128 countries, Bangladesh was 100. India was 114, mind you. Nobody remembers that usually, but India was 114. Bangladesh, apart from the countries of the former Soviet Union, no other Muslim country was above Bangladesh, not even Turkey. The situation of women in Turkey, according to World Economic Forum, is below that of Bangladesh. I don't say that we should be complacent. We have a long way to go, but this is one thing. These are certain things which we need to understand. Yes, we are in bad situation. Yes, we have problems, but we also have achievements. We have done much better in certain social indicators than countries in South Asia such as India or even Sri Lanka. We have, in certain respects, even Sri Lankans are worse off than us. We need to improve on those. We need to publicize those. And the NRBs can really make a lot of contribution in this respect. You face questions from your, I'm sure, from your colleagues, from your, the people of your, the country that you live in. And you should instantly point out these things. Nations, the government can do it, will do it, governments are inefficient, we all know that. But individuals can also make a big difference. We do it in a stereotyped way. We need improvement in that also, and let me confess that we need to do a lot in that respect. But also, the NRBs are our roving ambassadors. They can really make a difference in this respect also, in the image form. Thank you so much.
That was a wonderful thing that our secretary has said. Now this lady is waiting for a long time to ask a question.
Thank you so much, Dilara. First thing I want to say is thank you to the organizers of this seminar. This has been a wonderful, successful seminar. There are people who have been criticizing. There are always people who cannot do something, and the first thing they do is damage the ones who are trying to do. So we should all give them a round of applause for the good work they do. Thank you. I teach in John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York, which is part of the City University of New York. And we have Bangladeshi students there. Since we're talking about the NRBs, I have over 30 students in my college. We have a Bangladeshi club, and I'm the faculty advisor of the club. When the cyclone happened, they came to me spontaneously and said, Professor, can we do a fundraising? We did a fundraising for 4 days. We have gathered $4,000. That money is coming through the Consular General's office in New York. And the second thing I want to say is I came with a proposal from my college to have joint collaboration with educational institutions here, government, private, non-profit, and all that. So my university is interested in student exchange programs, in student internship programs, in setting up facilities which you don't have in the government. Since you're in the government, I've heard that you don't have a forensic lab. John Jay College has the best forensic lab in the United States. They are doing this collaboration with Dominican Republic and Ethiopia. So if the Bangladesh government wants it, my college is willing to help in this collaboration. And the second thing that I would also like to say is, in the United States, in the next 10 years, there will be a need for 200,000 nurses. India has already taken this opportunity and has started training their nurses in the language of English, because naturally, if United States is going to import nurses from India or Bangladesh, they have to be speaking in English. So this is an investment opportunity for those who are here. Think of opening up a nursing institution or whatever it is, train them, give them the training which is equivalent to the standards of United States, so that they can be taken there with employment opportunity with whatever visa, I think H1 visa or something like that. This is the opportunity which I think Bill Gates, another one, has already done in India, and they're planning to export nurses to United States. Why can't Bangladesh do it? Don't we have a good nursing institution here? So why don't we take that opportunity? And some of you have been saying about English language. English language is an international, like a media, it's a tool. But at the same time, we are proud of our language, we are proud of our culture. In my college, every year we have international festivals, and my students dance Bangla dances and Hindi dances, and I'm proud of it. So our second generation NRBs in United States, they're eager to come forward to help Bangladesh. All we need is help from the foreign ministry to expedite these things. Thank you. If you can give us a comment of how you can help us in these sectors. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for offering help. Not very many people really offer help, right? That is what we need, because we need to improve.
Thank you. My response in this respect would be much more, in general terms. We have a mechanism for assisting any for instance, in this respect, whenever you need. But I think on specific proposals, it's much easier. It's not only the foreign ministry, which often also, becomes some sort of a position for the other ministries also. From any ministry that you need help, it is possible, but specific proposals have to come. I particularly thank you for raising this issue of the nurses. There will be one shortage of 1 million nurses all over the world. Trained nurses, and here truly the sky is the limit. And I would suggest that, going by our association itself, that if some of the NRBs who are in this working in this area in their respective countries, if they could come forward with setting up some institutions. I know one or two of my friends are also trying this, but they are not from this sector. But some people who are already working in this sector, if they could come forward, if we could train girls in that trade properly, really we could make a very big difference. And this is also it's a noble profession, and this will also raise the this image of the country to a large extent. If we could do something like that, I would invite that the NRBs come with specific proposals. I can assure you that you approach our missions. All our missions may not be equally effective or equally efficient, but always endorse a copy to our ministry whenever you make any proposal. And I can assure you that we will take care of this. And I will try to do as far as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to be trying accommodating as many questions as possible, but because this is NRB session, we have some second generation NRB sitting on the back. So I'll just try, one question from you guys from there, okay?
Spending in Harar and Labamba or other places. Okay, today I'm a brain gain for this country. So there's Kumilla theke manush Dhaka ashe porte. Amra Dhaka theke India jai porte. Othoba America jai. It's the same thing. So there shouldn't be anything called brain drain. It should be brain gain. And one thing I would also like to talk, Mr. Tawheed, what you said about NRB is not to get involved in politics. I disagree with you. NRB should get into the politics of national development. NRB should get politics of national unity. We are segregated, yes. In the US we are segregated in different panels, different parties and all that. But the change has to come. We represent an organization called Change Bangladesh. Change has to come because people, the NRI example that you're given so many times, that's what are they? They're experienced, they're exposed, they have the expertise, they have the resources. So we can use them from all means. So they should come and bring a change, because if you don't have a good parliamentary member, 300 members, if you have Jainal Hajari as a member of parliament, what do you expect from this country? Come on. So we should, NRB should get introduced to the national development of politics. I'm not saying that they should come and join politics, but the national development of this country. NRBs can play a very great role. And last, I will thank Zakia Khan, and also I'm a volunteer of KKA. I really inspire your organization, that's why I'm involved. And in that organization, we are bringing young leadership. This country needs young people. Old guards are gone. 60s, 70s, people who had PhDs in the 1970s. Innovation is not going to come from them. You have to bring the young people. Nobody is doing that because status quo, because the privilege and the perks, they're scared of us. They do not give us the opportunity to come and talk or bring change because you guys are scared of change. And another thing I'm going to say, I'm thankful to your disaster ministry. I'm working with him right now. We are, as the United Bangladesh Appeal, as an expatriates organization, we raised $500,000 to give to 3,259 people a compensation fund, 16,000 taka per family, whose families who lost their family member in this Cedar cyclone. But we are getting a very good help. So I will also appreciate your ministry on that, but at the same time I agree to disagree on that NRB should contribute to the national development, and if they want to join politics, they should be. India has opened up dual citizenship. Why can't we do it? They should come. If you do not see a 5-star hotel, you cannot make one. So all this, what is the problem with this country? The national leaders are exposed. They are not exposed with the 21st century technology. They only go to Singapore for treatment in Mount Elizabeth Hospital and come back. They do not go to the Research Institute of Singapore or Bangkok or US. They go to New York and get down with their taxi drivers. I'm not diminishing anybody. Everybody is respected. They only go to the places where they are getting salams and privilege, but they're not going to the institute. They're not going to Harvard to learn anything. How many times did you see a simple MP or single MP or ministers went to US to a research institute to see how they can bring this into Dhaka or Bangladesh? No, they do not. They're only there to see their kids. Their kids are going to Harvard, they're driving BMWs, and they're coming back. So we do agree to disagree, and I really appreciate all the people who are here, not there. They're getting privileged, they're getting named. I respect Zakia Khan as a mother. We went to different places, that's fine, but at the same time, I appreciate the people who are here. They are the people who will bring change, not them. So I really appreciate all of you, and I want you guys to promote young leadership, give us a chance. Do not diminish us by seeing Tariq C and Yasuddin Mahmood. We do not represent that time limit or that phase, okay? Give chance to young leadership.
Actually, if all of us here do really understand the meaning, then we are asking questions. I'm going to be doing that. But what I'm saying is, we should be careful. And if we say that, or if any of us here, or anybody say we are NRBs and we came from abroad with experience, we should know that while we are addressing questions, without mentioning anybody's name, you can really point out your, points. So that part, I really appreciate. Whenever you are asking question, if you can really be like that, because if you are aggressive in your presentation, that is not a good representation that second generation NRBs can really come here, because then you are, that is what it is.
Sorry.
Right.
That gentleman spoke.
Yes.
I've listened to you. You're a moderator, I believe.
What I'm saying is, I said, do not.
I'll take this. I don't
You
think.
shouldn't be lecturing
Please,
me.
let me sorry. Yeah, exactly.
I am moderator. Thank you. Thank you.
Don't teach us.
Thank you. I'm not teaching. I'm just saying, please do not mention anybody's name in here. Right? That's what it is. Thank you.
Sorry.
No, because our secretary will be making comment on this, so we'll please listen to him.
I have one small question.
Let me take this first and then.
His questions are important.
Well, let me begin by saying that we do not agree to disagree, because basically I have not disagreed with what you have said. I think I have been misunderstood on one very vital point, and I have been misunderstood by people who I believe that I have not been misunderstood by everyone. I have never said that don't come in politics. I have encouraged to be engaged in politics. One. Second, I have also not said that don't do politics in Bangladesh. I have not touched that issue at all. I have only mentioned, I have said that the interest in politics has gone in a wrong direction, by which I mean that there is no other country in the world whose political parties have branches in all countries in the world. And not only that, each party has branches, and there are factions within those branches, which has tremendously harmed our image as a unified nation. I have only touched that issue. I have said that you engage in politics of that country and about engaging in the economic development of this country. What is the intention of this meeting at all? This is just for that. We want you to be engaged in every affair of this country, every affair. That includes politics, of course. What I mean to say, what I wanted to say on this point is that let us now show a divided face to the world. That is the only point I wanted to make on the political front. Be engaged in politics in the constructive way. We really need that. I would not, of course, like to mention any name. But the thing is that we have ample opportunities to contribute to politics also, to improve it. And everybody knows that we need improvement in that respect. But please don't misunderstand what I am saying. I have not discouraged politics. Politics, of course, is the right of everyone, and they should do it. What I said is that, and I said that it is absolutely my personal opinion, which is that our NRBs should be engaged in the politics of those respective countries more, because that will benefit us. And my intention is to see something that benefits us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have a sir here who wants to. You have comments?
I just
Yes.
want to add something that you mentioned. Actually, we shouldn't have any kind of value judgment about what we do in whatever capacity we have. I don't consider myself an NRB or any of those labels, but my background, I did my undergrad in the US and decided to join public service in Bangladesh. As an undergrad, I was making $1,000 a month, and when I joined, took up my civil service job, foreign service job, back in Dhaka, I was making 4,000 Dhaka a month, which was about less than $100 at that time. And I was very happy that I came back, and then I went back, and again I went for my PhD at Columbia University in economics and finance, and decided to come back and work for my country. And I don't judge anyone here. I don't feel that we all have different ways of contributing to our country. You know, NRBs, those who are living abroad, those who are here, those who have decided to come back. We cannot say one is better than the other, one is more patriotic than the other. There's absolutely no value judgment here. The idea is that, as my senior colleague, my sir has mentioned, that we need to maintain a united face. As Bangladeshis, the image that we project abroad, that we are very divided. Everywhere we go, we have, no two Bangladeshis can agree on the same point. And this is what we have to, this is probably cultural for us. And to some extent, we need to do some homework before we can say, okay, and go to different perceptions about us. I think that's the message that we should take from here, from this conference, that how we can actually have, and it's not about us versus them. Like, as NRBs, the sir mentioned that you are the de facto ambassadors. Often you have better outreach than our embassies. You meet your host community on a day-to-day basis. You can do a better job. But if you always try to say, oh, the government is not doing the right job, or the people are not doing the right job, this doesn't help our cause. We have to understand the constraints as well. We are all Bangladeshis in different capacities. The idea is that we have to understand and we have to be compassionate in that sense. So my request to all of you is that try to understand each other's positions and try to have a unified stance on how to serve our country. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have this gentleman. He was waiting for a while, and I apologize. I didn't see his hand. Sorry, sir.
I had many questions to ask previously, but I won't go through all of them. From the front, you've made some very good contributions, and I'll just stick to one point, which is about the image of Bangladesh outside Bangladesh. I'm from England. My father's been there since he was about 19 years of age, and he's passed away now. But the thing that we find constantly, the negative image from the media, that is true, because Bangladesh is supposed to be a poverty trap. But also, we have embassies and high commissions all over the world. You have personnel in the high commissions and embassies. The very tiny thing you have to look at is what is the level and caliber of their education, and what do they know about the history and culture of this country and this subcontinent in order to be able to promote the culture of this particular section of the subcontinent. 90% of them don't have any clues. Secondly, how do they promote Bangladesh? They are not bothered about that at all, actually, because a lot of these career diplomats, whether they are clerks or senior officials, in the last 20 years, as you know better than me, who knows who, whose Bhatija is who, and who paid how much bribes, got the promotion and got the jobs in the foreign service. So the foreign service has actually been debased. It has been abused to such an extent that it no longer functions in most of our missions. That is the true fact. And that needs to be tackled quite urgently if Bangladesh is to do something out there for Bangladeshis. So that's one. Secondly, my second point is to do with poverty. Poverty is something that's not going to go away from us. It is going to be around. But education and literacy, the education of younger people is a priority that government has had for a long time. But unfortunately, in the past few weeks, I've seen reports where it's talking about 40% dropout from primary schools in Bangladesh. This is some UN report, 40% dropout. So there is something going wrong somewhere. Somewhere people are succeeding, in other places they are not. Unfortunately, some of the governments in this country have always come out with wonderful statistics, and they're still available, but they are very hollow, as you know. And whoever the current government is, whoever will be, I urge them that there needs to be a certain level of honesty in terms of education for the masses, not for the private sector, for the masses who can't afford the private sector. Little bit of honesty. And I'm taking the cue from a World Bank official who said to me once, we can afford to have 40% losses in any money we grant in any country in the third world. But when it comes to 50% and 60%, we don't know what to do anymore. Because the very people we trust, they are draining the money. I'll finish there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for precise points. Now, anybody want to comment on this?
Thank you. I think it's an extremely valid point that you made, but my question to you, sir, would be, probably you had a chance at some point in your life to consider coming back and join the foreign service. We all want to, we all expect the best out of our foreign service, about our government, but are we willing to make that sacrifice ourselves? The question is that many of the NRBs, I was an NRB, I could choose, my parents live in the US, my brothers live in the US, I chose to come back. I just come back and accept a 99% pay cut, basically. And even after my PhD, I decided to come back. The idea is that we always like to point fingers, and this is exactly what I made in my previous intervention, that value judgment wouldn't help. How can we? Can we bring some NRBs into foreign service? Are we interested in serving our country? Accepting a very low wage, in terms of the wages that we get in foreign service, this is exactly what is happening. Not too many NRBs will be interested in coming and working for the government. So we have to be also realistic in that sense that we have some limitations. My foreign secretary mentioned that some of our embassies are not up to the mark because we don't find qualified people all the time. But we are trying. We are making honest effort, and it's often difficult to attract the most qualified. I know most of the NSU students, they wouldn't want to join foreign service. I ask them, sometimes I go to give a lecture and they say, oh no, foreign service, the question doesn't arise. We'll join Standard Chartered or we'll join American Express, because they would pay 10 times more the foreign service would pay at any point in time. So obviously it's very difficult to attract the best qualified people to foreign service or any public service for that matter. Thank you.
If I could just add one small point, which is that I think it is a bit sweeping, we're not saying that it's all Bhatijas and things like that that is taking place. Let me tell you that the civil service system, the foreign service is just part of that, and the selections are done on a unified basis. I would not say that it's the ideal situation that we have. The PSC, which is supposed to be an independent organization, they do the selection process. There have been complaints, and in fact I have myself made complaints about the PSC sometimes, the functioning of the PSC in some of the intervening years. But let me tell you that 15-20 years back, nobody ever thought of influencing the PSC. Subsequently, well, let us accept the reality that some problems did crop up in that area. Fortunately, the government has taken very strong measures regarding this. The entire PSA has been revamped, and we believe that we will be able to really select the best that we have. Now, here is the catch. The best that we have, you can't have better than what you have. And there is no system which can really filter the 100% efficiency, with 100% efficiency. There will be some people, in fact, that is there all over the world. There is this management theory that 80% of the 20% of the people do 80% of the work in any organization. That will remain, and there will also be people who will not, who one will think that they do not really deserve to be here, but they will be here. That's part of the lacuna of the system. But otherwise, I would say that from the available ones, as my colleague has already mentioned to you, that nobody wants to go to go for civil service these days, particularly from the better schools, from the better educated, better socially placed lot. This is a generational problem also. I have two daughters. None of them are ready to go for civil service. They will go into something else. They're just in the university now. None of them think of going into civil service. In the first place, you have to, there is also one thing that, as he has mentioned, that you pay peanuts and you get monkeys. Now, you have to make it more attractive to be in civil service, not only in terms of finance, but also in terms of his working conditions. Now, it's a product of the entire society, how we are running the entire society. So you cannot really get a better result only in one segment. You have to work for a general upliftment and also improvement of the system itself, so that better lot comes up. I hope we are towards the end of our career, but I hope that the next generation has a much better opportunity in this.
We have time constraints, so these two gentlemen and this person over here has a proposal, and then I would request you to just mention whatever your issues are, but not in a question form. Just mention your issues so that we can write down that to address, please.
One more thing. One. I thought we should say, I have a visa application form which my friend in Australia, one person said, what sort of form your country present? I wanted to give you in person, but I thought it was better. Could you just take advise this to your ministry? It says husband's name, no more 11 husband's name, then father's name, father's name, and all other things, you see. So could you, because when you come to the airport, the first thing where Bangladeshi, it's not a matter of, that it's not a very trivial matter, it's a very important thing. Any foreigner comes and fill that form, there is so relevant issues. See the relevant, but just I want to see you first,
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. We would want attention on that one. If there is any necessary adjustment to be made, he has a proposal, and this is a he wants to contribute in some way. So we need to hear from him how he wants to do that. Please.
Before his proposal, it's very relevant because the Foreign Secretary and DG is here mentioning few things. If you allow me for 1 minute, it's very important for second generation NRBs. My name is Nurul Kabir. I am the CEO of a software company and also the director of Bangladesh Association of Software and Information Services. The discussion point here going on the branding of Bangladesh and image of Bangladesh, which is very, very important. I really respect the second generation NRBs, and I know that many of them are very much involved in information technology, which is that, as Secretary mentioned, I really, first of all, congratulate the Scholar Bangladesh to arranging such opportunities. One important issue, many occasions we have seen that media picks up, as you say, that good news is no news, the negative news for Bangladesh. But we have other side of the coin, a lot of good news. One example I like to mention, and I have a proposal to the Secretary, that there is an opportunity that non-resident Bangladeshi can come forward, join hands with the Foreign Ministry, and do some branding activities for Bangladesh in media, in their different foreign countries. One of the proposals is, there is newspapers in US, in UK, in Australia. There is a supplementary pages people can invest, because when media people are not picking our good news, we have to brand we have to invest and disseminate the good information of Bangladesh. I can share one information. There was a couple of years before, there was a regional programming contest in Kanpur. Before the day, that event, India got the Miss World Award. The following morning, the Chief Minister of Kanpur addressing, we have the beauty and we have the brain. So at the end of the day, the first position goes to Bangladesh Engineering University, second position goes to Dhaka University. But unfortunately, even our news media didn't cover it properly. And if you see the Intel, the microprocessor design engineer, one of the senior engineers from Bangladesh, non-resident Bangladeshi, and when Bill Gates visited Bangladesh, he mentioned that different vertical development teams, the Bangladeshi engineers are doing better than many other countries, which is not being projected in front of the other countries. And it is a problem for us when we promote Bangladesh. People do not know that it is a destination of the knowledge-based development. As you mentioned, the Millennium Development Goal, the number 8 of goal is directly related to the Building Information Society by year 2015. The Building Information Society, the knowledge-based society, most of the second generation NRBs are actively working in their field, and I'm inviting all of them, please join hands with Bangladesh, Building Information Society. That is the economic tool for building Bangladesh. If we are talking about the corruptions, good governance, IT is the best tool for transforming this country a better nation, better country. I request our Secretary and DG are very inspired about your thought and your thinking. Please cooperate with us, and we would like to cooperate with you, because we join hands and do some branding activities of Bangladesh in different countries with the help of the NRBs. Thank you very much.
Okay, so if you could, you have these forms that are distributed to you. If you could write it in a formal manner, we'll try, forwarding it to the related places. Now we'll just hear from these three gentlemen over here in precise words, please, because we are running, out of time, and then we'll wrap up the session.
Qazi Hussain, professional engineer, USA. I've been living there about 20 years. Question to you, because I've been enjoy listening to you guys. Only wish is this is reflection if it was to the ministry in Washington DC or New York. That's not the case. So that's the sad part. But I've enjoyed listening to you guys, the direction and all those. Hope this direction will trickle down all the way to the bottom. That's what we don't get. I'll get back to helping children of Bangladesh since I'm in a computer field. We are not CEOs or anything in a bigger company over there. Most of the Bangladeshis are not. But what we can do there, a lot of companies reuse. After 2 years, they get rid of their laptops and computers, so they donate all those. There's a company also where you can buy a laptop and they will donate another one for only $400. So I've been trying to get doing that, but none of those companies will do any of those without government participations. This is a big effort for Bangladeshi schools and children and all those. I have called Washington DC, all the embassy and all those, they go, oh, sir, আপনার গ্রামে করেন বা আপনি একটা স্কুল বলেন কোথায় করবেন, আমরা আপনাকে ট্যাক্স ফ্রি নেওয়ার ব্যবস্থা করব. Very small scale idea. That's not the. We need to do it a little bit bigger. What, from the foreign ministry point of view, any direction or anybody you can point me or something, so that I can take this to the next level and get Bangladesh government help with that. Thank you.
Let me be very precise about this, which is that in the missions we represent all the ministries. That's true. But here you have different ministries, you have a different effect. But peripherally we have got involved into this slightly. There is also a scheme for having $100 computers for the school kids. I think the price presently is $180, but if there are orders for millions, it will come down to $100. The DG, in fact, has taken personal interest in this respect. He spoke to me a month back, and I gave him the full authority to talk to any of our organizations, because our ministry cannot do it, to speak to other organizations, and if necessary, I have told him that I will speak to the secretaries and if necessary to the advisors and take it to the highest level. I think this is one thing which we must do. I fully agree with you. A few years back, there was also one effort. I think BRAC itself got into this to get the used computers from the states and then disseminate those in a large scale in schools. One of these things have to be there. Frankly speaking, Foreign Ministry cannot spearhead this. We can only be helpful and to some extent very catalytical. But I take it very positively, and I can assure you that any proposal regarding this comes out of the way, the Foreign Ministry will try to help. This is because this is in our mind also that this is one way we can really help the children. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please do not forget to really mention it in your forms, okay? So that we can forward it, because otherwise later on you do miss the contact. Write down your contact address or contact phone number, email address as well. We are going to be hearing from 3 more people over here and then we'll wrap up.
আল্লাহ স্মরণ করছি, আল্লাহ তাআলা আমাদেরকে এখানে একত্রিত করেছেন। আমরা অনাবাসী বাংলাদেশি ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি এই সেমিনার আয়োজকবৃন্দকে। আমরা অনাবাসী বাংলাদেশি মিডল ইস্ট সৌদি আরবে থাকি। বাংলাদেশ সরকার এবং বাংলাদেশের বা ইউরোপের সবাই চিন্তা করেন যারা মিডল মধ্যপ্রাচ্যে থাকে অবহেলিত অনাবাসী। আমরা বাংলাদেশ যে বৈদেশিক মুদ্রা ব্যাংকিং চ্যানেলে আসে তার 44% শুধু সৌদি আরব থেকে পাঠিয়ে থাকে। আমরা 16 লক্ষ বাংলাদেশি সৌদি আরবে বসবাস করছি, কিন্তু আমাদের ছেলেপেলেরা উচ্চ মাধ্যমিক পরীক্ষার পরে ওখানে লেখাপড়ার কোনো সুযোগ নেই। যারা ইউরোপ আমেরিকা আছেন তারা সেখানে বাড়ি গাড়ি কিনতে পারেন, বাড়িঘর ফ্যাক্টরি করতে পারেন, আমাদের তাও সুযোগ নেই। আমরা সৌদি আরব থেকে চলেই আসতে হবে, সেখানে থাকতেই পারবো না। বাংলাদেশ সরকারের কাছে আমাদের প্রথম অনুরোধ, আমাদের ছেলেপেলে যখন উচ্চ মাধ্যমিক পরীক্ষা দিয়ে বাংলাদেশে ভর্তির জন্য আসে, তারা মেডিকেল কলেজ বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে একটা ভর্তির জন্য সুযোগ পায়। সাধারণত যেখানে আমরা 44% রেমিটেন্স পাঠিয়ে থাকি, সেখানে দুঃখের বিষয় আমাদের সন্তানেরা ভর্তি হতে পারেনি। ধন্যবাদ। দুঃখের বিষয় সৌদি আরবে প্রত্যেক দেশের দূতাবাস নির্মাণ করা হয়েছে। সৌদি সরকার বাংলাদেশ দূতাবাসের জন্য নির্দিষ্ট স্থান দিয়েছে। দুঃখের বিষয় আমাদের বাংলাদেশ দূতাবাসের স্থানে ভারতীয় দূতাবাসের গাড়ি পার্কিং করা হচ্ছে। আমরা দুঃখিত, কাঁদতে হয় যে দেশে অনাবাসী বাংলাদেশিরা বাংলাদেশে বিদেশে অর্থনীতি যা আছে ব্যাংকিং চেন তার 40% দিয়ে তাকিয়ে সেই দেশের ছেলেমেয়েদের এখানে ভর্তির সুযোগ নেই, সেই দেশের দূতাবাস নেই। এটা লজ্জাজনক। আমি সচিব মহোদয়কে অনুরোধ করব, আমি গত 22 তারিখে সেনাপ্রধানকে বলেছি, জেদ্দায় সেনাপ্রধানকে অনুরোধ করেছি আমাদের অনাবাসী বাংলাদেশি ট্রাস্ট করার জন্য। সাধারণত আমরা সৌদি আরবে প্রবাসী কল্যাণ ট্রাস্ট করব। ট্রাস্টের মাধ্যমে আমরা কিছু আমাদের ভবিষ্যতের জন্য কিছু উপার্জিত করব, এই দেশে ইনভেস্ট করব, আমরা দেশের জন্য কিছু করব। গত সেপ্টেম্বরে আমাদের শুধু বাংলাদেশের স্কার্ফ অ্যাসোসিয়েশন সোসাইটি 37 লক্ষ টাকার চেক গত 22 তারিখে আমাদের সেনাপ্রধানের কাছে আমরা হ্যান্ড ওভার করেছি, শুধু যারা স্কার্ফ ব্যবসা। আমরা রিয়াদে মাননীয় রাষ্ট্রদূতের কাছে 12 লক্ষ টাকার চেক প্রদান করেছি। গত বন্যায় আমরা মাননীয় রাষ্ট্রদূতের কাছে অন্তত 20 লক্ষ টাকার চেক প্রদান করেছি। আমরা দেশের জন্য খাটি। আমরা আজকে গতকালকে আমরা এসেছি সৌদি আরব থেকে। যেভাবে কোনো সন্তান মাকে হারিয়ে কান্নাকাটি করে আবার ফিরে পেয়ে যে খুশি হয়, বাংলাদেশে এসে আমি মনে করেছি আমার মায়ের কোলে এসেছি। আমি অনুরোধ করব বিমান মন্ত্রণালয়, বিমানের দুঃখের বিষয়, গত 24 তারিখে টিকিট করেছিলাম ওই ফ্লাইট 25 তারিখ রাত্রে ছিল, 25 তারিখ 26 তারিখ ভোর 1টায় উঠেছিলাম প্লেন ফ্লাই করার সময় রানওয়ে যাওয়ার পরে একটা রেডিও নষ্ট হয়ে গেছে। আমাদেরকে ফিরে রিয়াদ বিমানবন্দরে এনে ফিরে আসতে হয়েছে, 4 ঘন্টা বিমানে বসেছি। তারপরে বলা হয়েছে জানি না আপনারা সবাই চলে যান হোটেলে, কখন ফ্লাই হবে। আমি খেলনায় ব্যাগে পড়েছিলাম যে NRB সম্মেলনে মনে হয় আসতে পারবো না। আল্লাহর মেহেরবানি 26 তারিখ মর্নিংয়ে আমরা ফ্লাই করে চলে এসেছি। তো আমি সচিব মহোদয়কে অনুরোধ করব আমাদের বিশেষ করে মধ্যপ্রাচ্যে এইসব সমাধান করার জন্য, যাতে বাংলাদেশ সরকার বিশেষ করে আমাদের ছেলেমেয়েদের সমস্যা ভর্তি সমস্যা আর আমাদের বাংলাদেশ দূতাবাস, এটাই আমার দাবি রইল। বাংলাদেশ দূতাবাসের ভূমিতে যেন ভারতীয় গাড়ি পার্কিং না থাকে। আমি আশা করি আগামী 1 বছরের ভিতরে বাংলাদেশ সরকার পদক্ষেপ গ্রহণ করবেন। ধন্যবাদ।
খুব সংক্ষেপে আপনাকে অনেক ধন্যবাদ। আপনি বিষয়টা খুব সুন্দরভাবে উপস্থাপন করেছেন এবং আমরা এটা এই জিনিস কিন্তু আমরা সবাই খুব ভালো করেই জানি যে আমাদের রেমিটেন্সের একটা বড় অংশ প্রায় অর্ধেকের কাছাকাছি সৌদি আরব থেকে আসে এবং সৌদি আরবে আপনারা যারা আছেন তারা প্রচন্ড পরিশ্রম করে এই কাজটা করছেন, অনেক ক্ষেত্রেই খুবই কষ্টকর পরিবেশে থেকে, আমরা এটাও জানি। এখানে যে 3টে বিষয় আপনি উল্লেখ করেছেন তার মধ্যে একটি সরাসরি আমার কাজের আওতায় পড়ে, সেটা হলো দূতাবাস তৈরি করা। এখন গত আমার চাকরি জীবনের প্রায় শুরুতে এটা ইনিশিয়েটিভ নেওয়া হয়েছে। লজ্জার বিষয় যে করতে হয় আমার চাকরিটা শেষ হতে হয়েছে, আমার 4 বছর পর আমি রিটায়ার করি। একটা ছোট্ট সুখবর আমি আপনাকে দিতে পারি যে এই বছর এই ফাইনালি এক ধরনের একটা নীতিগত সিদ্ধান্ত হয়েছে যে আমরা সৌদি আরবে আমাদের জায়গাতে দূতাবাস তৈরি করি। আমাদের ইঞ্জিনিয়াররা গিয়েছিল, তারা গিয়ে দেখে কথাবার্তা বলে এসেছে সৌদি কর্তৃপক্ষের সাথেও। প্ল্যান খুব তাড়াতাড়ি আশা করি আমরা সাবমিট হয়ে যাবে, আগামী বছরই হয়ে যাবে এটা আমি বলতে পারি না, কারণ শুরু করতে গেলেও সময় লাগে, প্লাস শুরু করার পরেও বেশ খানিকটা সময় লাগে। তবে ইনশাআল্লাহ আগামী কয়েক বছরের মধ্যে আমাদের সৌদি আরবে দূতাবাস তৈরি হবে। আপনাদের ছেলে মেয়েদের শিক্ষার ব্যাপারে যে সমস্যা, এটা খুবই জেনুইন সমস্যা। আমি এটা শিক্ষা মন্ত্রণালয় এবং প্রবাসী কল্যাণ মন্ত্রণালয়কে অনুরোধ করবো যে এই জিনিসের দিকে তারা দৃষ্টি দেয়। আসলে আমার এটা আমার ব্যক্তিগত হতে পারে, তবে সরকারেরই দায়িত্বের মধ্যে পরে কিন্তু আমি এই মন্ত্রণালয়ে আপনাদের রিকোয়েস্ট আমি পৌঁছে দেবো যে এটা আপনাদের একটা বিরাট সমস্যা। আপনাদের ছেলে মেয়েদের জন্য অন্তত বিশেষ একটা কিছু ব্যবস্থা যেন করা হয়, যে তাদের মধ্যে যারা বিশেষ করে যারা মেধাবী তারা যেন এটা পেতে পারে। বিমানের সমস্যা, এটা সমাধান কোথায় আমি নিজেও খুব ভালো জানি না, কারণ বিমান আপনি এয়ারক্রাফট ছাড়া তো বিমান চালাতে পারবেন, কিন্তু আমরা প্রায় সেই চেষ্টা করছি। আমাদের গত 10 বছরের কোনো বিমান কেনা হয়নি, যেটা পৃথিবীর কোনো এয়ারলাইন্স চালু থাকবে আর এটা হবে, এটা হতে পারে। সাম্প্রতিককালে সরকার একটা ইনিশিয়েটিভ নিয়েছে যে ঠিক আছে আমরা এটাকে সম্পূর্ণ সরকারের হাতে না রেখে এটাকে কোম্পানি করে দেখি কিছু করা যায় কিনা। যারা সেই কোম্পানির দায়িত্ব যারা নিয়েছেন, কিছু সদস্য বাইরে থেকে উপভোগ করা হয়েছে প্রাইভেট সেক্টর থেকে। আমরা চেষ্টা করছি যে এটাতে কিছু একটা করা যায় কিনা, যাতে করে বিমানকে আমরা, কারণ বিমান এই যে আপনাদের সমস্যা প্লাস ওই আবার আমরা ইমেজে ফিরে যাই। একটা দেশে বিমান সংস্থা যদি ভালো কাজ করে অটোমেটিক্যালি ওই দেশের মধ্যে ইমপ্রেশন ভালো হয়ে যায় যারা ওই বিমানে যারা জার্নি করবে। এখানে আমরা বিরাট একটা ডিসঅ্যাডভান্টেজে আছি, দেখি কিছু করা যায় যদি।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম, আমি ইউএই থেকে আসছি। আমরা ইউএইতে প্রায় 4 লক্ষ মানুষ আছি, তার মধ্যে আমি
5 লক্ষের বেশি,
4 লক্ষের বেশি, 5 লক্ষের বেশি। আমি কোম্পানি স্টার্ট করছি, আমি পার্সোনাল আমি একটু বলছি 5 জন নিয়ে। এখন আমার কোম্পানিতে 500 জন লোক কাজ করে। আমি 4টা কোম্পানির ওনার। আমি এই গত বন্যা এবং এই সাইক্লোনের জন্য পার্সোনালি আমি 10 লক্ষ 9 লক্ষ টাকা দিচ্ছি অ্যাম্বাসেডার সাথে। এবং আমার উদ্দেশ্য, আমি আসছি ইউনিভার্সিটিতে একমাত্র আমার চেয়ারম্যান বলা হয়েছে তুমি ইন্ডিয়া যাও, ইন্ডিয়া ইউনিভার্সিটি থেকে তুমি 8 জন অথবা 10 জন ইঞ্জিনিয়ার নিয়ে নাও, প্রতি বছর পড়তে থাকো। আমাদের কোম্পানিতে আমরা ইলেকট্রোমেকানিক্যাল কোম্পানি, ইলেকট্রিক্যাল ইঞ্জিনিয়ার এবং কনস্ট্রাকশন কোম্পানি আছে, সিভিল ইঞ্জিনিয়ার রাখতেছে। পরে ইন্ডিয়া থেকে আনো, কেন আমাদের বাংলাদেশি ইঞ্জিনিয়ার গিয়ে একটু কষ্ট হয় ইংলিশ বলা, কারণ এখানে বেঙ্গলিতে পড়ে ইংলিশ বলতে পারে না, যার পূর্বে কিন্তু আমরা উপরের দিকে স্টেপ যেতে পারি না। আমাকে বলছে ইন্ডিয়া থেকে নেওয়ার জন্য, আমি বলছি না, আমি বাংলাদেশ থেকে নিতে পারবো। বলে তাই তুমি বাংলাদেশ যে ইউনিভার্সিটি আছে ওখানে কিভাবে 5 জন প্রত্যেক বছর করে 5 জন আমাদের সাথে চুক্তি করতে হবে, 5 বছরে কাজ করবে, 5 বছর পরে আমরা ছেড়ে দিব, নেক্সট জেনারেশন আসবে, এইভাবে আমরা করবো। আরেকটা কথা হচ্ছে আমি পার্সোনালি আমি 10 জন লোক আমি এডুকেশন দিব, যারা মানে 5-এর ভিত্তির পর থেকে একদম মাস্টার পর্যন্ত আমি করাবো। আমি এখানে কাউকে বিশ্বাস করতে পারতেছি না আমার ছেলে পড়ে, আমি দিচ্ছি এখন। আমি চাচ্ছি যে ট্যালেন্টেড ছাত্র আমাকে যদি আপনারা আমাকে নাম দিয়ে দিতে পারেন, আমি খুব খুশি হব। আমি একদম মাস্টার পর্যন্ত আমি করাই নিতে পারছি।
কোনো প্রাইভেট প্রতিষ্ঠান করতে হবে, কারণ সরকার কখনোই এই পক্ষপাতিত্ব দেখাতে পারবে না যে এই 5 জনকে আমি সিলেক্ট করব।
Thank you, sir. And then we have this gentleman. Yes, the very last one. Secretary has requested.
Thank you. Thank you for the young lady of the community service. I want to talk regarding the community service. I was teaching community service in health in Queen's University, Kingston. It's a very big thing, and I am an elected member since 1996 in the Quebec government in the community health services. I could help to develop community services in Bangladesh, but it has to come through the Foreign Affairs Ministry of Foreign Affairs. If the request, then I could help through the Quebec government to get the fund, because it is the land handling $1.3 billion for just Montreal community health services. It's called CLSC. This is the only country has the community services in Quebec, and it is recently Denmark and Sweden is copying community services from us, and we are giving training to them. Why? Because I am the only South Asian guy from all Quebec is elected through the population. Every 4 years there is election, and I'm a member of them, and I can help in that regard. And I have one organization called International Society of Bangladesh, because I'm a retired guy, I'm helping the community. We are helping Bangladesh since 1989, when the first flood came, we are international. There's a big story now, I don't know about that. But we have a community development service in the leadership and community development program. We can send some people to create some leader in the community, how to develop the community. I could help in that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a long session, and thanks to all the presenters, thanks to our honorable advisor, and also thanks to our secretary and director general from Foreign Ministry. Thanks to the audience. It was a wonderful audience, very responsive. But one thing, I think, even though we diverted from our main theme, but we have to understand as host that the NRBs that are living abroad, they have so many questions in their mind and so many concerns. So we do really have to pay attention to that, and we are respectful to that. Please do not forget to submit your comments or suggestions. The volunteers are waiting at the door. Please provide it to them, and Scholars Bangladesh will make sure that they are going to be doing the follow-up on those. Thank you so much, and thanks to you, sir, and thanks to you.
Thank you all.